What if the only limits you have are the ones you've accepted? Imagine living today as if nothing, absolutely nothing, were impossible. The truth is, the mind bends reality to its beliefs. The stronger your conviction, the more the world reshapes to meet it. Today, I'll show you how to act as if the impossible is already yours. To believe before you see is to step into the highest form of human potential. It means allowing the power of your imagination and conviction to become more real to you than the evidence in front of your eyes. Most people wait for proof before they believe. They want certainty, results, or signs before they will commit to trust. But those who rise above the ordinary know that waiting for proof is the surest way to stay trapped where you are. If you demand evidence before faith, you will always be at the mercy of the world as it already is, rather than shaping the world as it could be. Belief is not naive optimism, nor is it blind ignorance. True belief is an inner alignment, a firm decision that the invisible is already present, though the senses cannot yet grasp it. Think of a seed buried in soil. To the eye, there is only dirt, but the gardener believes he waters, protects, and nurtures something unseen. That faith becomes the force that allows the hidden seed to break through the surface and grow into a living reality. In the same way, your belief plants the seed of the impossible in the soil of your mind, and your consistent trust is what gives it life. When you believe before you see, you place yourself in the same current that every great innovator, visionary, and creator has stepped into. The ones who build worlds, heal nations, and transform generations did not wait for confirmation before they acted. They held their inner picture with such intensity that reality had no choice but to bend. They knew that the outer world eventually reflects the inner one, and that conviction always precedes manifestation. If you want to live a life without limits, you must learn to lean on the unseen more than on the visible. Belief is also a discipline. It is not a fleeting moment of confidence that vanishes with the first setback. It must be practiced daily, reinforced every time doubt arises, and guarded as you would guard your most precious treasure. Doubt is loud, insistent, and logical. Belief is quiet, steady, and often irrational by worldly standards. Yet it is belief, not doubt, that has the power to create. Every time you choose to believe, despite appearances, you strengthen your inner authority over life. You tell the universe that you are not defined by circumstance. You are defined by your vision. To live this way is to become magnetic. People can sense when someone carries an unshakable belief. It radiates in your words, your posture, your decisions. It attracts opportunities that align with your conviction. When you refuse to bow to evidence that contradicts your dream, you begin to influence not only your own path, but the perceptions of everyone around you. Your belief becomes a force field, reshaping what others consider possible. In this way, you become a living reminder to the world that reality is not fixed, it is fluid. Believing before you see requires courage, because it often means standing alone. It means facing the ridicule of those who cannot imagine beyond their own limitations. But history remembers the ones who dared to believe anyway. Their stories teach us that what begins as impossibility becomes inevitable. Once someone holds it long enough in the crucible of conviction, you are no different. The question is not whether you are capable. The question is whether you will choose to believe even when no one else does. To act as if nothing is impossible, you must first claim the unseen as real. You must walk with certainty in a world that may call you unrealistic. You must become a gardener of dreams, nurturing the invisible with such faith that the visible world eventually has no choice but to catch up. This is the path of transformation. To believe before you see, and in doing so, to turn the impossible into the inevitable. Fear is the great deceiver. It enters quietly, whispering limits into the mind, convincing you that certain paths are too dangerous, certain dreams too distant, and certain risks too costly. It cloaks itself as caution and disguises itself as reason. But in truth, it is a prison guard, keeping you behind invisible bars. To expand beyond fear is not to eliminate it. Fear will always exist in some form, but to strip it of its authority. It is to feel its presence, yet refuse to obey its commands. Those who treat fear as the final word shrink their lives into tiny, predictable shapes, while those who step through it discover horizons they never thought existed. Fear thrives on illusion. It magnifies the size of obstacles, paints failure in vivid colors, and exaggerates consequences until the mind becomes paralyzed. Yet most fears dissolve the moment you confront them directly. Like shadows in the night, they appear vast and threatening until the light of action exposes their true size. When you act in spite of fear, you discover that the monster was never relit, was only a projection of the mind. And with every step through fear, your courage expands, your spirit strengthens, and the chains loosen. It is important to understand that fear often arises in the exact places where growth is possible. The intensity of fear can be a compass, pointing you toward the very door you are meant to walk through. A dream that does not scare you is likely too small, too safe, too ordinary. The impossible feels impossible precisely because it challenges the mind's comfort. To expand beyond fear is to reinterpret it not as a signal to retreat, but as an invitation to evolve. When your heart races and your thoughts resist, you can choose to recognize that fear is not the enemy, but the threshold. On the other side of it lies a larger version of yourself. Many wait for fear to disappear before they take action, but that moment never comes. Fear does not vanish through waiting, it dissolves only through movement. Action is the antidote. When you move forward while afraid, you retrain your nervous system to realize that fear does not control the outcome. You take back authority over your own destiny. Each time you step into the unknown, you expand the territory of what feels possible, and the impossible shrinks in proportion to your courage. Living beyond fear also means refusing to let the opinions of others dictate your choices. Much of what we fear is not failure itself, but the judgment that comes with it. We worry about embarrassment, rejection, or ridicule. Yet the truth is that those who laugh or doubt are often imprisoned by their own unchallenged fears. When you choose to step boldly, you not only free yourself, you show others that it can be done. Courage is contagious. Your decision to act in the face of fear becomes a spark for others to ignite their own bravery. Fear will test you again and again, but each encounter offers an opportunity to grow. Sometimes the fear will be subtle, a quiet hesitation. Other times it will be overwhelming, urging you to retreat. In both cases, the choice is the same: shrink or expand. To shrink is to stay in the cycle of repetition. To expand is to break the cycle and discover new realms of possibility. The path of greatness has never been the absence of fear, but the mastery of it. To act as if nothing is impossible, you must accept fear as part of the journey, yet refuse to kneel to it. You must walk forward with trembling hands if necessary, knowing that every step weakens its hold. In time, you will look back and realize that the fears that once felt like mountains were only shadows on your path. To expand beyond fear is to step into the fullness of who you are, guided not by limits but by the boundless call of possibility. To embody the vision is to live as though your greatest dream is not a distant hope but a present reality. It is to align every part of yourself, your thoughts, your words, your actions, your energy, with the life you are creating. Most people wait until the dream arrives to behave as if it has come true, but this is the wrong order. Transformation happens when you step into the character of your vision, before the world has validated it. You must become the living expression of what you seek, carrying yourself as though the impossible is already yours. When you embody the vision, you speak differently. Your words carry conviction rather than doubt, power rather than hesitation. The way you talk about your future shifts. You no longer say if, but when. You no longer approach your dream as something fragile that may break at the slightest setback, but as something inevitable that is already unfolding. Language is a vessel of belief, and when you refine your words to match your vision, you begin to rewrite the script of your reality. Your body also becomes a messenger of your vision. Posture, presence, and energy reflect the state of your inner world. If you see yourself as a leader, you will carry yourself with the weight of responsibility and the dignity of purpose. If you see yourself as successful, you will radiate confidence before a single external result has appeared. This is not pretense or arrogance. It is alignment. The body learns what the mind rehearses. When you act in accordance with your vision, you train your subconscious to accept it as natural. In time, your outer life synchronizes with the inner stance you have chosen. Embodying the vision also demands consistency. A moment of belief is not enough. You must rehearse your vision daily, showing up as the person you intend to become. It is a practice of integrity, holding yourself accountable to the standards of the life you imagine, even when no one is watching. If your vision requires discipline, you act with discipline now. If it requires creativity, you practice creativity now. If it requires courage, you cultivate courage now. The present moment is the training ground, and how you live today reveals the level of your readiness for tomorrow. This way of living creates a magnetic field around you. Others feel the authenticity of someone who walks in alignment with their vision. They are drawn to your energy even if they cannot explain why. Doors open, opportunities emerge, and people begin to treat you according to the role you have already assumed. The world mirrors back what you embody. By becoming the embodiment of your vision, you invite the external world to catch up to your inner certainty. There will always be a temptation to wait until conditions are perfect before embodying your dream. But waiting is a form of postponing your power. You do not need the evidence of success to act successful, nor the proof of abundance to embody abundance. To live as though you are already in possession of your vision is not delusion, it is creation. The imagination is not merely a tool for fantasy, it is the blueprint of reality. What you consistently embody within becomes what you eventually hold without. To embody the vision is to collapse the distance between who you are and who you are becoming. It is to stand in the middle of the impossible and declare that it is already unfolding. Every breath, every choice, every gesture becomes a testimony to your future. And when you do this long enough, with sincerity and persistence, the world has no choice but to align with the person you have already chosen to be. This is how dreams cease to be dreams. They become the inevitable reflection of the vision you dared to embody. Obstacles often appear as enemies, as barriers meant to frustrate, delay, or deny you the life you seek. They rise like walls in the path of your vision, tempting you to question whether the dream is worth the struggle. Yet what we call obstacles are not punishments or signs of failure. They are messages, signals guiding us to refine, strengthen, and grow into the very person capable of holding the vision we claim to desire. Without them, the dream would remain a fragile fantasy, incapable of enduring the weight of reality. To see obstacles as signals is to transform the entire journey of becoming it, is to view resistance as sacred instruction. Every obstacle carries information. When you encounter resistance, it is not the world trying to push you away, but rather a mirror reflecting where you must expand. If the path challenges your patience, it signals the need to cultivate endurance. If it confronts your doubt, it calls for deeper faith. If it exposes your lack of skill, it points toward the discipline of mastery. Each struggle shines a light on what is incomplete within you, offering the exact lesson that will prepare you for the fulfillment of your vision. To ignore these signals is to miss the hidden wisdom embedded in difficulty. It is often in the face of obstacles that people reveal their true relationship to their dreams. Many retreat, mistaking challenge for impossibility. They assume that if the road were truly theirs, it would be smooth. But the reality is that anything of worth demands transformation, and transformation rarely comes without friction. Gold is refined in fire, not comfort. The obstacles you face are not blocking the dream. They are shaping you into the vessel strong enough to receive it. When you shift your perspective in this way, what once felt like punishment becomes preparation. Obstacles also strip away illusions. They force you to confront the parts of yourself you would rather ignore. They test the purity of your motives and the strength of your commitment. A dream pursued only for vanity, approval, or shallow reward will not withstand the heat of resistance. But when your vision is rooted in truth, in a purpose larger than ego, obstacles will not destroy you, they will fortify you. Every trial becomes a crucible in which you are tempered. Each setback a sculptor chiseling away the unnecessary to reveal the essence of who you are meant to be. The paradox of obstacles is that they often redirect you to paths greater than the ones you first imagined. What feels like rejection may be redirection. A closed door can guide you toward a doorway you would never have considered without resistance. When you learn to read obstacles as signals, you become less attached to the idea that things must unfold in a straight line. You begin to trust that life, in its mysterious wisdom, is shaping a path that serves your highest growth even if it differs from your plan. This does not mean obstacles are comfortable. They are often painful, humbling, and frustrating. Yet within that discomfort lies the very growth you once prayed for. To act as if nothing is impossible does not mean avoiding resistance, but embracing it. It means standing before the wall, not with despair, but with curiosity, asking, "What is this here to teach me?" What strength is this trying to awaken? What signal is hidden inside this struggle? Such questions transform the way you experience difficulty. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of circumstance and begin to see yourself as a student of life's guidance. When you reframe obstacles as signals, you reclaim your power. No longer do you view setbacks as evidence that you cannot succeed. Instead, you recognize them as proof that you are on the path of becoming. You understand that the obstacle is not an interruption to the journey, is the journey. Every signal is a step toward alignment. Every struggle, a sculptor of destiny. And when you hold this truth, nothing can truly stop you, because every wall becomes a doorway in disguise. Persistence is the silent force that bends the impossible into reality. It is not the flash of inspiration or the brief surge of motivation that creates lasting change, but the steady, unyielding rhythm of refusing to stop. The world often celebrates breakthroughs as if they arrive in an instant, but behind every so-called miracle is a story of relentless persistence. To harness the power of persistence is to understand that the impossible does not fall to those who try once or twice, yields only to those who keep pressing forward. Long after others have surrendered, persistence is more than stubbornness. It is rooted in vision. Stubbornness clings blindly, but persistence is guided by purpose. It knows why it endures. It remembers what lies at the end of the struggle. When the journey grows heavy, persistence does not deny the weight, it embraces it, knowing that every step under pressure builds the strength to carry more. This quality transforms ordinary individuals into extraordinary achievers. Persistence is what allows a dream to survive the storms of doubt, the silence of progress, and the sting of failure. Without it, vision collapses under the first sign of resistance. Failure, when met with persistence, loses its power to define you. Most people stop after one setback, interpreting failure as a sign that they are unworthy or incapable. But those who persist understand that failure is not an ending. It is feedback. It teaches, redirects, and sharpens. Every disappointment becomes raw material for growth. Persistence gathers these fragments and uses them as stepping stones. It turns rejection into resilience, obstacles into opportunities, and mistakes into wisdom. Over time, persistence converts what looked like defeat into the very foundation of success. The world often tests your sincerity through delay. Dreams rarely arrive on your schedule. There are seasons where progress seems invisible, where effort yields no obvious result, and where silence tempts you to quit. In these moments, persistence is your anchor. It whispers, "Keep going," when everything else urges you to stop. It reminds you that growth is happening beneath the surface, even if you cannot yet see it. Just as roots deepen unseen before a tree breaks the ground, persistence carries you through the unseen stages until the breakthrough finally comes. Persistence also demands adaptability. It is not about repeating the same mistake endlessly, but about holding the vision while adjusting the method. When one approach fails, persistence seeks another. It refuses to let a closed door become a final answer. Instead, it looks for windows, pathways, and new strategies. The unwavering part is not the method, but the commitment. Persistence is flexible in action, but immovable in purpose. This balance ensures that your energy is not wasted in blind repetition, but channeled into creative endurance. What persistence ultimately awakens within you is mastery. Repetition ingrains skill, patience deepens understanding, and endurance builds character. With persistence, you become the kind of person who can be trusted with great responsibility, because you have proven that you will not abandon your purpose in the face of adversity. The impossible does not crumble before talent alone yields to those who have endured enough to earn it. The journey transforms you into someone who not only achieves the dream, but embodies the strength it required. To live as if nothing is impossible, you must make persistence your constant companion. You must decide that quitting is not an option, that setbacks are not signals to stop, but invitations to rise again. When you harness the power of persistence, the impossible loses its intimidation. It may resist, it may delay, but it cannot withstand someone who refuses to yield. In time, the dream becomes inevitable, not because it was easy, but because you would not let go. To live with audacity is to step into life with a boldness that refuses to shrink in the face of uncertainty. It is to reject the timid existence of hesitation, and instead move with a courage that declares, "I am here, and I will not be silenced by fear or doubt." Audacity is not recklessness. It is an inner fire that chooses daring over stagnation, possibility over comfort, and vision over conformity. The world bends not to those who wait politely, but to those who claim their place with conviction. Audacity is the spirit that transforms an ordinary life into a testament of the extraordinary. Audacity begins in the mind. It is a decision to think beyond the boundaries others accept as final. Where most see a ceiling, audacity sees a sky to be broken. It dares to ask questions others fear and imagines futures others cannot. It does not wait for permission to dream. To live audaciously is to refuse the smallness of borrowed beliefs and to instead trust the vastness of your own imagination. This mental boldness becomes the foundation for audacious action, for what the mind accepts as possible, the body will eventually pursue. But audacity is more than thought. It demands movement. Bold dreams without bold steps remain fantasies. Living with audacity means acting before certainty, moving before you have guarantees, and speaking truth even when your voice trembles. It is stepping onto a path knowing it may be steep, but refusing to remain still. Every act of audacity plants a flag in the unknown, staking your claim in a world that rewards courage over hesitation. The audacious are remembered not for their careful caution, but for the risks they dared to take. Audacity also means embracing rejection. When you live boldly, you will inevitably clash with the comfort zones of others. They will project their doubts onto you, call you unrealistic, reckless, or arrogant. But the audacious do not measure their worth by applause or agreement. They understand that ridicule is often the shadow that follows those who walk ahead of their time. To live with audacity is to remain unmoved by the noise of doubters, and anchored instead in the clarity of your vision. Each rejection becomes fuel, proof that you are walking a path few dare to tread. Living with audacity does not guarantee that you will avoid failure. It almost ensures that you will encounter it more often, because you are reaching further and attempting more than most. Yet audacity transforms failure into initiation. Every setback becomes evidence of courage, every fall a mark of daring. Audacious living is not about being flawless, but about being fearless in the pursuit of meaning. It accepts that scars are part of the price of a life fully lived, and that safety has never built legacies. The gift of audacity is freedom. When you live boldly, you stop negotiating with fear. You stop diluting your truth to fit the expectations of others. You begin to move with authenticity, unshackled by the need for approval. This freedom is magnetic. It draws opportunities, allies, and resources to those who dare. The world secretly craves the bold, because their courage awakens the dormant courage in others. By stepping into audacity, you give permission to those around you to rise as well. To act as if nothing is impossible. Audacity must become your default posture. It is the force that pushes you beyond hesitation, the fire that keeps you from shrinking back into mediocrity, and the courage that declares your life too precious to be lived in half measures. Audacity dares, audacity moves, audacity claims. And when you live this way, the impossible cannot withstand you, because you no longer ask whether you are capable, you prove it with every bold step you take. If this video spoke to your soul and reminded you that nothing is truly impossible, then don't let the journey stop here. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and join this community of dreamers and doers who refuse to live small. Every week, you'll find powerful messages to strengthen your belief, fuel your courage, and push you closer to the life you're destined to create. Together, we rise, and together, we prove that the impossible is only the beginning.